It is so exciting when you are at the stage to hire your first tutor, but this transition from an ascend stage where you've just been doing the tutoring yourself into the next stage where you are booked out as a tutor, you need to start hiring tutors in order for your business to grow. That is a whole nother skill set within itself. So in order to help you be as successful as possible in this next phase of your tutoring business, I want to share with you 3 signs that you're ready to hire your first tutor. We're going to talk about the business markers in your business that indicate that you're ready to hire your first tutor. And we're going to talk about the mindset that you need to adopt in order to successfully hire, train, and retain a tutor for the foreseeable future. I've made so many mistakes myself hiring tutors, and during my time at Lisa Study Guides, my tutoring company, I had hired over 100 tutors for the team. So I have made time and time again mistakes. I've fallen, I've iterated, I've practiced, I've tested, and I really want to give you these 3 core signs that are going to help you ensure and maximize your chances of success when you lock in that first tutor for your business. If you don't know me, I'm Lisa. I'm a tutor coach here on this channel, and I help tutor bosses like you start and scale your tutoring businesses. I started out as a solo tutor myself and eventually grew that team to over 35 tutors before I eventually exited and sold the business last year. So I can't wait to share with you more advice on how to grow your tutoring business. If you'd like to gain more advice from me, then I'll be talking a lot more about hiring tutors and hiring a team and growing a team over the next few months. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and expect to see the videos come out soon. So the first sign that told me that I was ready to hire a tutor is the fact that I was booked out. As tutors working for ourselves, we exchange our time for money. For example, 1 hour of tutoring for $70 per hour. Now, what this means is that ultimately, at some point in your business, you're going to become the bottleneck of your business. There's only so many hours in your day, and therefore only so many students that you can take on. Of course, this is just for one-on-one, but for groups, you can continue to add on more and more students. But at some point, there will reach a point in time where you've maxed out the number of students you can possibly take on, whether that be your capacity yourself, but even thinking about things like administration. You start to feel like you're drowning in customer service that you need to do, maybe emails that you need to send, answering questions, the fact that you need to reschedule student sessions, deal with cancellations, organize invoices, overdue payments. And so if you're at this stage where you're feeling burnt out and you know for yourself that this is actually just too much for you, and you can see that if you keep going on this pathway you're going on, you're just going to get even more burnt out. You're going to get even more resentful of your business. And if anything, you start to have a negative narrative about your business, like, oh, this is really draining. I don't feel as motivated anymore. A lot of times this is purely because we're just overworked. We're overwhelmed. That passion for tutoring, that excitement of seeing your students' faces light up when they understand a concept, when they get a win, you feel like you get a win, that is still there. But it just feels buried underneath all of the other stuff that you need to be doing in the business. So if you're feeling this way, then firstly, I want to tell you that it is so normal that you're feeling this way. And I find that this is what happens not only for myself, but also for my clients as well. When they get busier and busier, it's all the noise that actually makes them feel less excited about their business. So when it comes this point in time, then it's a really good indication that it's time for you to actually hire your first tutor. Now, if you're somebody who is concerned that your tutor is not going to be as good as you, I can tell you that I completely get you. I definitely went through those fears myself, and I know a lot of tutors go through that fear of, I've built this business up to this current point in time because of me. Like, people are coming to this business because of me, because they know Lisa, not because they know some other random tutor. And what am I going to do when people inquire in and they say they want me, but I'm actually full and I'm sending them off to another tutor? Now, there may be a part of you that understands, like, yes, I want this. I want to actually hire a tutor so that I can offload work and so that I've actually got more capacity to onboard new students into my business. But it's that fear that actually could hold you back for quite some time. Now, we have to be able to get over that fear, because if you lead into hiring a tutor with that fear, then it's not going to be serving anybody. You're not going to treat your tutor with the best possible treatment you can of them. You're not going to nurture them in a way that is going to be kind, caring, and, for a lack of a better word, very nurturing, because there's always going to be this seed of doubt in you that you're like, but you're never going to be as good as me. Now, that might actually come across as sounding really bad, and I'm probably over dramatizing it, but there is truth in that. We need to really believe in our tutors, and we need to believe that people are willing to come to this business for the services that you provide, not because of you. So there needs to be an ego detachment of, this business has been all about me, to now one of the mindset of, what can we achieve as a team? How can we impact students together? I remember the 8th tutor that I hired for my team. This is very on during my hiring journey. I remember that when she signed on, she was really shy, and I could see potential in her. I could see that she could be a really good tutor, but I knew that she didn't have the experience yet. And I knew that if I could coach her through her shyness and get her to open up a little bit more, have a little bit more confidence in herself, I knew I could get her to a stage where she could be an amazing tutor for her students, because she just had such a sweet personality. And I knew that my ideal students would really gel with her. And so you need to be the same. You need to now start thinking of yourself as a coach, as a manager, as somebody who, okay, maybe your tutors, when they start coming in, they're not as good as you, quote unquote, but it's your job to train them, to level them up, to get them to a point where you actually get really impressed by what your tutors can do. And what actually really surprised me was, no, some of my tutors weren't as good as me. They were actually better than me. I genuinely found that with so many of the tutors, they were willing to go more of that extra mile, create more resources for their students. And I found this to be the case because eventually, when I got fully booked out, I was so busy. Because I had the experience, it was still good. But I didn't necessarily go that extra mile for my students as much anymore as I used to in the very early days of the business, to be 100% honest, just because I was so swamped with everything else. But seeing these tutors, some of these tutors, it was their first job out of high school, and seeing how much they actually put into it and how motivated they were was just genuinely so inspiring. So I know that this can happen for you too. So shift yourself from that mindset of, I don't think a tutor will be as good as me, I think this business is more about me, to how can we have this amazing team so that we can impact even more people? If you're ready for that mindset, then that's a really good sign that you're ready to hire your first tutor. Now, just to help you in that process of hiring a tutor, because I know it can be really inundating, I've created a free lead magnet for you on how to hire tutors for your team. Inside it, I give you my exact LSG job description that we use to hire tutors, that we vetted and tested again and again over the course of 7-8 years during the time when I was hiring tutors. And I also give you our exact interview questions as well. So that way you can get a better understanding of what it is you actually need to test for, what you need to look out for, so you can find your ideal tutor for your team. I hope this gives you a little bit more ease when it comes to hiring your first tutor and helps you feel more confident in the entire process. So download that, because I would love for that process to feel seamless for you, to feel more at ease, and to feel like you have more confidence going into the process of hiring a tutor. The next sign that you're ready to hire your first tutor is that you have a wait list. So when you have a wait list, it's because you have more demand than you have supply. This goes back to the concept before about you being booked out. Now, the reason why I say it's important that you have a wait list is actually because we want to make sure that when a tutor is hired and when they sign up to your business, that we can give them a student as soon as possible. And the reason why I say this is because from the time a tutor starts with you to the time you can get them a student, this is lag time. And the longer that lag time is, the worse their experience at your company. So when you've hired them, they're at their peak of motivation. They're so excited to work for you. They can't wait to become a tutor and they can't wait to get on board their first student. But that motivation, if they don't hear anything from you in days, weeks, even months, then of course that motivation is just going to slowly dwindle over time. And it's much harder to elevate and kickstart that motivation again than it is just to hire them and immediately get them a student and keep their motivation high throughout the next few months. Now, the easiest way for you to reduce that lag time is for you to have a waiting list of students. So a lot of tutor bosses at this point ask me, okay, what is the logistics of this? How does this work? So basically, when you get a student who inquires about you and you say you're booked out, you'd go and say something to them like, hey, by the way, I'm booked out, but I may have availability opening up in a couple of weeks. Would you be happy to wait? I have a tutor who I think could be a really good fit for you. So what you're doing here is A, you're getting the student onto your wait list, but B, you're also buying yourself time. A, it's good to get them on your wait list and it also sets expectations for them. They understand and they're going to stick around if they know they only have to wait 2 weeks. But if you just put them on a wait list and you don't really tell them when you're going to get a tutor, when you can actually service them, then they're probably just going to go and find another tutor elsewhere. So you're creating a really good buffer for yourself with the intention that you're going to find them a tutor. So you and this student on the waiting list are on the same page. Now, for B, in those 2 weeks, that's when you go out and you start advertising and you start looking for a tutor. It doesn't take long to find tutors. There are so many tutors out there. You can write up your job description, put up your ads on Seek, Indeed, wherever it is, do your interviews, hire a tutor, honestly, within 7 days. And if anything, you can speed that up once you've actually downloaded the How to Hire Your Tutors for Your Team PDF as well. So if anything, 2 weeks is giving you buffer time. It's giving you time to actually onboard your tutor and get them up to scratch in your business. So you do that in the 2 weeks where you hire your first tutor. Come the 2 weeks, you tell your student, hey, we're ready for you. I've got a tutor who's assigned to you. I think they're a really good fit. Bam, they get started. That is how quickly you can start your tutoring team. This doesn't have to be something that's difficult. Now, on the flip side of this, I'm personally not a fan of you hiring tutors before you've actually got the demand of students wanting them, because that's what's going to drag out that lag time and you've got no control over that lag time. And all of that effort of getting out there, putting up a job ad, interviewing, hiring, what will happen is you put in a lot of time to get your team together. But then if the tutor doesn't get a student straight away, the likelihood of them actually quitting your company and going to another company is actually a lot higher. So one of the metrics that shows whether or not you're successful as a tutoring business is the retention of your tutors as well. So if your tutors stay with you for a long time, you know you're doing a good thing. But if you're churning through tutors, that's an indication that you're also not doing the right thing. So obviously there's lots of factors that go into tutor churn, but for the purposes of this video, we're just talking about how soon can you get them students. And the sooner you can get them students, the more they're like, okay, this is legit. Awesome. I'm so glad I chose this company because they're giving me students straight away compared to the other 5 tutoring companies that I was applying for. And I'm saying this not to freak you out, but because this is the reality of the tutoring industry. There are so many tutoring businesses out there. It is a competitive industry. So your tutors, honestly, like they're probably just applying for lots and lots of different companies. So what's going to make you stand out? One of those things is knowing that you can give them a student as soon as possible. One of the things that you can do also, bonus tip inside your interview, is you can say something like, by the way, we can give you a student as soon as you sign up with us. And if they're contemplating you and another company, that could be the tipping point for them to choose you over them. All right, so my next sign that you're ready to hire your first tutor is that you have consistent leads. So we've talked about you having a waitlist of students. That's awesome. But we also want to make sure that you're consistently getting leads in your business, because as you hire tutors, you want to make sure that you can continue having that stream of students to actually give these tutors. Your tutors, they want to get booked out too. They want to have a schedule that fits in with their lifestyle. They want to know that they're getting 4 hours a week of tutoring, because that's money in their pockets that they can go and save up for something else in their own lives or use for something in their own lives. So if you can provide your tutors with consistency of income, and the only way for you to get consistency of income for them is making sure that you can get them booked out, then that is the most ideal state to be. Just like yourself as a tutor, you don't like the fact that you're constantly getting students, losing students, getting students, losing students, or having students that are rescheduling, canceling, right? Like, what we don't like for ourselves, our tutors are definitely not going to like. You as a business owner, you're going to be putting up with way more than what your tutors will be willing to put up, because for them, this is just a job. And if I'm reframing this, essentially you're wanting to provide your tutors with security. And the way to give them security is to give them as many students as they're willing to take on. But the only way you can do that is if you're getting consistent leads in your business as well. And the beautiful thing about having consistency in your business is that you can actually plan strategically based on that consistency. So for example, when I started hiring my first tutor, I knew that I was getting leads in my inbox every few days. So for example, I knew in my business, I was getting X number of leads every few days. And I knew that a certain percentage of those leads would actually sign up and convert. And so based on that, I could actually extrapolate and go, all right, well, how long will it take me to actually get my first tutor booked out? When would I hire my next tutor? How many tutors could I see myself having by the end of this year? And by the end of my first year, I had 10 tutors on my team. I literally went from having one tutor in February to having 10 tutors by November. So this is the beauty of having consistent leads to your business. And this is something that I work on quite a lot with my tutor bosses, my clients, because having a marketing strategy that's going to pull you in consistent leads can be quite challenging, especially if you're somebody who has only leveraged word of mouth up until date. Word of mouth is amazing because it gives you really good referrals, but sometimes you can't quite control like when those leads come in because they just kind of pop out randomly out of the blue. So then I work a lot with my clients on stacking new marketing strategies. So, okay, word of mouth is marketing. What's the new strategy, new marketing strategies that we're going to add on top that's going to help bring in even more leads into your business? Now, I'm actually going to throw in one more bonus sign that you're ready to hire your first tutor. Everything that I've talked about now is very much based on your business and the systems in your business. We've talked about getting booked out, waiting list, and also having consistent leads. But for this one, I wanted to throw it in as a bonus because I think that it is so important for you to have this, because this is what's going to make this next phase of your business feel that much more easier. And it's not to do with a framework. It's not to do with a new system. It's actually to do with you internally. And I think that you as a person need to love operating as a business owner. So the reality of you hiring a tutor, yes, a lot of us want to hire tutors because we want to offload some work. We want to start freeing up our time so that we can make passive income, right? And yes, you will eventually get there. But actually, when you first hire a tutor, your workload actually goes up even more because you're doing the work of hiring, finding the tutor. You need to actually onboard the tutor and you need to train the tutor. So the workload increases before it actually decreases. So you just got to be ready for this. Like, this is the cold hard reality. And I think a lot of people go into hiring thinking that, oh, this is going to solve all my problems, but then it doesn't. And I actually really love a story from the E-Myth Revisited, which I highly recommend you read. But basically, what it talks about is how there is, Sarah will say, a baker, and Sarah starts off her baking business because she is a great baker. Just like us, we started tutoring business because we love teaching. And Sarah does really well with her bakery and she gets so many customers and she realizes, oh, it's time for me to start hiring. I'm so excited for this because this other person that I'm going to hire, they're going to take off so much workload for me. This is great. And so she goes on and hires that person. All is dandy in the beginning. She offloads a whole bunch of work. And if anything, they start growing the business together. So the business is even more busy now because she's added an extra person to help her with the capacity. And because they're able to do more as a team, they're able to scale more. But then what happens is, for whatever reason, the person that Sarah hired actually ends up quitting. And suddenly, Sarah has a new problem. Sarah has an even bigger business, which has even more demands of her. And now she has no one working for her. And now it all sits on herself all over again. But it's even worse this time because there's even more workload on her. And so I want to share you this story, not because I want to freak you out, but because this is something that is just so true. Like, I literally went through this experience myself. When I hired one tutor, she ended up not being a good fit, but I gave her 5-6 students. And then suddenly, after I let her go, I was like, where am I going to put these 5-6 students? Like, suddenly they're not going to have a tutor anymore. Am I just going to lose them and say, sorry, we're not going to be able to help you? Which made me feel absolutely terrible because I felt like I was responsible for those students' growth. Like, they placed trust in us as a company. And so I actually took on board those students, and I was already so booked out. I was looking after 25 students privately already, and to add on another 5-6 more, plus now I was managing a team of like 5 tutors at that time. It was just too much. And so what I want you to know here is that growing a business is hard work, and inevitably there'll be challenges that you'll face that weren't part of your roadmap. It wasn't part of your plan to hire a tutor to only have them be let go months later, and then suddenly you're needing to onboard 5-6 students. And I'd say that you're ready to hire a team and you're ready to level up you as a business owner if you're ready for this, if you're ready for the challenges, if you're ready for the mistakes that will inevitably happen, if you're ready for the fires that are going to need to be put out by you. One big tip I have for you here is that you've been a tutor this entire time, but now it's time for you to put on the hat of being a manager. And that comes with a whole new suite of responsibilities. So if you are ready for that challenge, then I'm so excited for you to hire first tutor, because you will never forget your first tutor. There's always that special bond with your first tutor. And even to this day, whenever I see my first tutor out and about, sometimes I will bump into her in the street. Not anymore, because now I live in London and she's based in Melbourne. But I just have such a appreciation for her, and I know she was there right at the very beginning of that journey when I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. So if you're ready to rise up to the challenge, you're ready for that next stage in business, then I encourage you to download my gift to you, How to Hire Tutors for Your Team, including my job descriptions and my interview questions to help you have a more seamless process throughout all of this. If you've watched all the way till the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. I would really love to know, what's your next action item that you're going to take after watching this video? What are you saying to yourself that you're going to do next in your business? I'd really, really love to know. Now, if you found this video helpful, I have another video that I highly recommend you, where I talk about the one mindset shift that helped me make my business $1 million. And it's all about hiring tutors and growing that team. So I think it'd be a perfect fit for you. And I hope that that helps you on your tutor boss journey as well. All right, tutor bosses, I can't wait to see you next time. Mwah. Bye.